But, thankfully, I have been parts of like different recovery groups where on holidays is a great day to usually connect with other folks, because we're not the only ones that are struggling with dealing with the holidays. So if we can reach out to other people that we know aren't with their family or friends on these days, sometimes that can be helpful to even get us out of ourselves, is to just show up for other people. Like, I think that's why a lot of queer folks have Friendsgivings, and they have opportunities for friends to get together and do certain things. And even probably why bar nights and stuff are so popular is because it's a space where we can all go and kind of escape our loneliness and our rejection or whatever sort of feelings those are. So I think it's helpful to have a plan for that. And even like, you can still, like, I've spent plenty of holidays not doing holiday things and been totally okay, and I think sometimes for me too, sometimes it's just like, I remember, I think it was a recent holiday, one of the things that I love about my family around the holidays is we always have like meats and cheeses and dips.
Oh yeah,
and,
of course,
all that stuff. And so one holiday I was going to be by myself. So I just got my own chips and dips and meats and cheeses, and I ate them all by myself, sitting here in my living room. And it was perfectly okay. And it was just a little bit of that nostalgia and a little bit of the connection with the good things and the things that I missed about the holidays to kind of help me feel a little bit more connected, and maybe even a little bit more like I had some agency in how I was going to be impacted by not being with friends and family over the holiday.
That would be, I think having a plan is a really good idea, because I'm the same way. I'll be like, oh, I'll be fine, right? It's Thanksgiving or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll be fine until it's like nighttime. It's really quiet in the house. I'm all alone and I'm just stuck with my thoughts. And that is never a great place for me to be stuck, my mind starts running with anxiety, but then also like nostalgia and maybe sadness or regret. And then it's not that it's a dangerous place for me to be anymore. It certainly used to be before I did my ketamine therapy. That was a dangerous place for me to be. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. So being around other people at that time was not only, more comfortable, but it was safe.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. And that makes me think of too, is like, you might even be able to get through that whole holiday and not have any feelings or whatever. But I think one of the things that we don't always think about is an emotional hangover. So whether we decide to stay by ourselves and we're dealing with those emotions or not dealing with those emotions, or maybe we do go and do the family visits, or we do the things, there's a lot of emotional labor, there's a lot of emotions that happen, and I think oftentimes we're not aware of it. And I think sometimes we'll go back to our homes, or we'll go back to our normal life or whatever, and then like the next day we're just like fucking angry and sad and mad and like just like coming down in this like really bad way. We're just like, I don't understand why. It's like, well, bitch, you just were in a whole whirlwind of emotions for days or hours or whatever, and you need to take care of yourself with that. And sometimes just being aware that, oh, I did this thing, so I'm going to feel a little funky for a day or two, then maybe I schedule some time to hang out with friends, or I tell my roommate, hey, could you be around too? Or I, make plans to have dinner with friends. Or if I'm part of a group, a recovery group or a trans group or any sort of group, that I make sure that I attend that thing, so that I can just kind of get reconnected and kind of back into that reality and kind of cope and work through some of those emotions, I think.
That's a really good idea. That's great advice. And I need to do that too, because I know whenever I go home for the holidays or for anything, I get so burnt out just because I'm an introvert, and just being around people constantly just really drains me.
Yeah.
And I have to have like an entire day where I can just sit in silence and just kind of regroup, and even go, one of my favorite things to do in those instances is to just put my headphones on and go hiking in the foothills.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things. But a lot of the time I just don't have time. And then that just builds on it. And then a couple of weeks later, I'll just freak out. And I'll be like, oh, that's so weird. I randomly freaked out. It's like, no, it was not random. Like, this has been brewing for a long time.
Yeah.
And just taking, knowing that that'll happen is...
Yeah, you need something to kind of like bring you back to your normative, like to ground you again. Because I think the other thing I know for me for a long time with my family, I can click into this like default mode that like when I'm around my family, this is the person that I am.